Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to our conference stage from the Blue Springs R4 School District Board of Education, the President of the Missouri School Boards Association, Dave Wright.
Thank you. If you were in attendance at yesterday's general session, then let me welcome you once again. If you just recently arrived and were not with us yesterday, I hope I am one of the first to say welcome to the 2010 MSBA Annual Conference in cooperation with MASA. We are glad you are here. Each year, the MSBA president is given a few minutes at this time to share his or her thoughts, and I am humbled by the opportunity to do that today. It is such a privilege and an honor to stand before each of you as your MSBA president. Being elected to serve in this office, in this capacity, for you, through you, by you, has been and continues to be one of the most amazing experiences of my life. When I became your president back in June, I cited as my theme for the year, history in the making. This Darius Rucker song speaks to the historical responsibility we all accept as school board members and the awesome impact that Missouri public education currently has and will continue to have on future generations. As I prepared for this conference and for this speech, there were so many different things I wanted to say. So many critical messages I wanted to share and communicate to each of you and to educational leaders across the state. This is my opportunity to share with each of you the message I believe we as school board members need most to hear at this time, at this place, at this conference. Certainly it is true that public education is without a doubt the single most important, foundational, and fundamental building block in our society, in our culture, and in our strength as a nation. However, we are living through a crisis in public education. If we cannot admit this, accept where we find ourselves, and embrace the very difficult road that lies ahead of us, we will not successfully survive it. I believe that what we face today is truly the perfect storm. The conditions that created this perfect storm are easy to isolate. First, a high-pressure front led by the media, unfairly critical of public education and biased beyond any reasonable doubt. And we have certainly witnessed that ongoing attack in the past 30 days on the airwaves. Second, a low-pressure front by individuals who hate public education so much that they are willing to spend millions of dollars to discredit it and an attempt to dismantle it at any cost. Third, the strong prevailing winds of the worst economic recession since the Great Depression, and they have blown relentlessly and railed against us by reducing state, federal, and local revenues at the worst possible times for our schools. Those monies were sucked away like water drawn up inside a cyclone. We are living in, and thus far surviving, the perfect storm. Today, what we face in our crisis could foundationally change not only our state, our country, and our world, but also the very essence of life and the lives of every child who enters passes through and emerges from our school systems. You know, in times of crisis, we always still have choices to make. We can choose avoidance. We can simply pat ourselves in the back for all the accomplishments that we have made in the past. Put our blinders on and avoid both the crisis of the day and the impact it will most certainly have on future generations. We can put those blinders on just like our Missouri forefathers put blinders on their mules when they used them to work the fields. My father told me stories of those days when, as a teenager, he did just that. He explained to me that it was absolutely critical to leave the blinders on the mules. Otherwise, the mules would not look forward and they could not focus on the hard work that lie ahead. They would swing their heads from side to side to see what their peers were doing. And oftentimes they would run amok either because they were stubborn and wanted to go their own way, or because they were competitive with the other mules and they wanted to beat them to the end of the field, even though they were all tied to the same piece of equipment. I don't know about you, but there are times today when it seems to me that many involved in education have a lot in common with Missouri mules. Another option is flight. That is to simply run away from the problems we face, to be unwilling to acknowledge that there are important ways that we can change and improve public education, and to flee from the hard work that is required to bring about positive changes and improvements. I believe the best option is neither avoidance nor flight, but instead to stand up and fight. Public education was never meant to be easy. It was never meant to run smoothly or without challenging issues or tough battles to fight. It's a lot like parenting. If you don't have to struggle through it, it wouldn't be parenting and you wouldn't be doing it right. And also like parenting, leading our local schools seems to be a never-ending job. And we live for those glimmers of hope and accomplishment as we step back and we watch our kids and our schools grow up, struggle, overcome, and ultimately succeed. So what am I saying? Folks, let's stop sitting around griping about how hard the battle is, how difficult state and federal leaders make it for us to be successful. We have all fussed at one time or another about how ill-equipped, ill-trained, ill-prepared those who set the mandates for us and those who make decisions that impact local control and our ability to function tend to be. You know, back home on the farm, we had a saying that those who haven't walked in our boots can't possibly understand that the only difference between a pile of cow chips and simple BS is merely the hot air that went into the transition process. The reality is, we are in the education business, but not just for students, but for decision makers as well. The time has come to stop pointing fingers and blaming. That is no longer the point. The point is The fight for public education is just another battle to wage. And we must pick up our shields, gather our weapons, and go to battle and win this war. It's easy to say the fight is too hard, the battles are too long. And the weapons in this modern technology world of ours, like the internet, the 24/7 news mentality every second of the day, these things are just too hard to fight. How can we possibly fight them and succeed? Well, more important than how we do it is to be sure that we do. We cannot step away from the fight or passively allow others to take the lead in the fight, especially those who do not support public education or those who do not understand or comprehend that what they want to do is so profoundly wrong. If we don't stand our ground, those harmed most will be those who cannot speak up for themselves. Good people with bad ideas can unknowingly wreak havoc on entire generations while thinking they are doing the right thing. This is truly one of our great challenges today in public education. Every school reformer, every politician starts their speeches, their discussions, or their testimony with something like this: kids are our future. I want every child to have the best education possible. I want every child to go to college and to have every opportunity possible in life. You know, it's hard to argue with that. It's hard to argue with good people who seem to want good things, but who have the wrong approach to make it happen. Throughout this conference, we talk about 900,000 children who attend Missouri Public Schools every day. We use that number often, and it is both an amazing and a daunting number. I graduated from high school in 1980. And as I get older, Peggy, that 30 years seems more like a blink of an eye than it once did. But in that blink of an eye, we have shaped the minds and touched the lives of nearly 30 million young men and women in Missouri's public schools. I'm proud of my Missouri public education and what it did for me, what it gave me, and where it has led me in life. The problems in public education have always had much the same flavor and a great deal in common, whether it was 1980 or 2010. Today's problems seem more profound, more unconquerable, but they're not. They are just here facing us now, and they certainly do seem intense. They are the obstacles we must overcome to get to the next set of obstacles. And that, my friends, is the curse of public education.